As before, remember, what you see here in the videos is the way I'm working out. There are often many different ways to try the first step, the second step, and so forth. The goal is to get the same solution, but by still following the rules. For this first one, 8x minus 7 equals 4x plus 13. You may have thought that there were rules to this. It doesn't matter. You can keep your x's on the left or the right. A lot of people like to make sure your x's stay positive. In this case, that would mean to subtract the 4x's first, giving you 4x minus 7 equals 13. Now, you could have added the 7 over there to give you a 20. That's what we're going to eventually do anyway. The order doesn't matter as long as you're following the rules. In this case, we end up with 4x equals 20, so we divide by 4, and x equals 5. And just as before, we can do a quick check. 8 times 5 minus 7 equals 4 times 5 plus 13, so that's 40 minus 7, which is 33, and this is 20 plus 13, which is 33, and we've done it correctly. Always take that, even writing it down and explaining took less than 10 seconds, but always take that time to do a quick check. Next, we'll look at the second example. Now we have a negative on the left, a positive on the right. Again, your choice. If you want to bring the 12 over, go ahead. I prefer to keep everything positive if I can, or if it's convenient for me. So in this case, it is. I get 11 equals 17x minus 6. I'm going to add the 6. Now I have 17 equals 17x, so divide by 17. And I have 1 equals x, or x equals 1. And again, a quick check. Negative 5 times 1 plus 11 is negative 5 plus 11, which is 6. On the right side, I have 12 times 1 minus 6, so 12 minus 6, which is 6. And yes, I've got it correct. Again, take that check. I often miss them, especially when I'm giving examples on video, so it never hurts to check. For our next example, be careful. Fractions, not difficult, but you got to be careful with them. Okay, and again, your choice on where to go. Since I have a negative on the right side, I'm going to go ahead and add the 7/3 x. As you can see by the first three examples, I like to get my x's together before I worry about my constants. It's still your choice. I know some teachers teach this way, where you in this case, I'd add the 9 first. It doesn't really matter. Now, luckily, as I work on this one, we've already got a common denominator, so it's 2/3 plus 7/3, which is 9/3. And if you want to, you can just write that straight down. If you recognize that, you can say, okay, well, that's 9/3, which is 3. So 3x minus 9 equals 6. Add the 9. 3x equals 15. So x equals 5. Notice how there I've gone ahead and started shortcutting some things. When I do the division, I don't always write down the division. But again, take a second to check. Now, don't be afraid of this just because there are fractions. That gives me 10/3 minus 9, which is, that's 27/3. So I have negative 17/3. If I check the right side, that's negative 7/3 times 5 over 1 plus 6. So it's negative 35/3 plus 6. The 6 would become 18 over 3. So now negative 35 plus 18 is negative 17/3. And yes, I've got it right. Even fractions don't take long to check. Always check. I'm going to beat that into the ground with you guys, but check, 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 check. Our last example. Here you have x's. It doesn't really matter. Again, I'm going to subtract the 6x. I see automatically that gives me 4x over here. So I have 4x plus 7 equals negative 28. I'm going to subtract the 47. I get 4x equals negative 75. So x equals negative 75 over 4. In this case, I know some of y'all are just desperate. You're going to want to change that to a fraction. Be very careful. 75 over 4 cannot be reduced, so it's perfectly fine. If I need to, I guess I can go off to the side and go 4 into 75, and that's going to be 24 and 3/4. That's an ugly number, so I guess if I do that, you got to change it to 24.75. Either way, it's icky. Oops. Honest to goodness mistake right here. As I'm making the video, I worked the whole thing out. You won't see it, but I made a mistake there. That is not 24.75. This is the danger of changing this. I'm so insistent of changing this to 24.75 that I don't realize that that is not the correct answer. 4 goes into 7 once, minus 4, 3, it's negative 18.75. Big difference. So that's why we leave it 75 over 4. Then we can go ahead and make that and put this in here and go, okay, let's go 10 times negative 75 over 4 plus 47. So it's 10 over 1. If we cross reduce, that gives us 2 and 5. So we get negative 375 over 2 plus 47. Let's make that 94 over 2. And negative 375 plus 94 is going to give us negative 281 over 2. Let's try on the right side. 6 times negative 75 over 4 minus 28. So again, let's cross reduce. That gives us 2 and 3. 3 times negative 75 is negative 225 over 2. And then minus 28 will be minus 56 over 2. And 225 and 56 will give us 281 over 2. So believe it or not, it does check out. And even though it was a pain, now if I had a calculator, I would use a calculator. And a little hint to you, behind the scenes, I'm using a calculator over here and pausing my video to make this. But I always take a second to check it, because the last thing I want to do is make a mistake in front of you wonderful people. And that should do it. Go back, check it out, keep working.